This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch.
Good evening, my name is Harrington Watco. Welcome to our program. Yes, it's a holiday, and what kind of holiday? Everyone's rallying and chanting in the streets. We'll know the numbers eventually, and we'll see whose side eventually wins. You remember, when people rally, there's some type of question that's put in front, and somehow someone has to lose, someone has to win. Now, let's leave that for a while. On another note, I'd like to bring in this topic. Kayo ang boss ko. Narinig na natin po yan at parati natin naririnig. Pakikinggan natin yung boses ng mga boss ko. Well, obviously, this is what the president has been saying when it came to issues on his term limits. And true enough. Now, let's see. Do you become a populist representative, a populist personality of sorts, if you are to follow your bosses? Now, the question there, I guess, is can you do otherwise? If you don't follow the voice of the people, this is what's wrong. I'm going to tax you 100% because I know what's better. Do you really know what's better? Or sometimes, do the people know what's better? Now remember, there's the other side. It's called mob rule. I guess you have to learn how to taper the two. Now let's look at the populist side of this. What do the bosses themselves think? Meaning the people. Sinasabi po natin, boss, kasi siya nang ginagamit parating terminology ng presidente. Pero ano ba talaga ang boses ng mga boses? Well, let's see. The voice of the bosses, let's see, us, meaning public opinion. It seems the president, based on my personal surveys and what I read, seems to have a different sense of hearing from which voices, wherever that seems to come from. We all know, let's see, can I say public perception or public opinion, term limits are not exactly a good way to go? Or to have another dictator, another oligarch, or a forever ever president like a monarchy? I'm sure, based on public opinion, even my personal opinion, it is not popular. But who among us become populist so much that he or she follows the voice of the people? Ladies and gentlemen, I have a surprise for you. Our guest tonight, I have what you can call a populist. I've had to read up on him. He's a representative. He was a congressman for a full 3 terms or 9 years. He was 3 terms as well as a mayor, the chief executive of Valenzuela City, and the whole area, basically, the province. And basically, having checked up on him, I realized if there's one person who's become populist and listens to the voices of the people, it's this guy. Now, how did this happen? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Congressman Sherwin Gatchalian. Congressman, maraming salamat for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Harry, and good evening to our viewers.
I read about you, and I see you on TV as well, and I read about you in different... You seem to always come out at the right times, giving your point of view, at least your position,
right,
on many of the international issues, disasters if need be, the latest being the one in Bulacan.
Right.
But why did you weigh in Bulacan? Di ba Valenzuela yan?
Yes, Bulacan was part of Valenzuela was part of Bulacan a long time ago. And when Metro Manila was created, they took a lot of cities and created Metro Manila. Valenzuela being included as one of those cities. So historically, Valenzuela is really part of Bulacan. And because we're quite active in the province, we have a few scholars in Bulacan State University. That's why when this happened, I was quite alarmed because it's Mabuti kung 1 or 2 students who perished. Now, we were talking about 7, students who perished in this tragedy. And the question there is, this river, kasi Harry, is a live river, no? Meaning it swells on certain times of the year, no? And how can they let students traverse that river, no? Without warning them, without even guiding them? So talagang this accident was bound to happen. So it's just, I'm just very concerned because we have scholars that go to that university, and it seems to me that the university officials are quite lax, when it comes to field trips. So we just had to echo our sentiments.
So what would be the end event of this? Because it's still under investigation by both the school as well as the
CHED.
DepEd, or CHED.
CHED, no, it is for
Tinitignan
this
din
matter.
nila yan eh.
Yes, yes.
So lesson learned would be field trips. You have to be more careful, more scrutinized.
Actually, the most glaring part is there are a lot of accidents which happened in the past field trips. No, I remember there was one event that I think a student was nasagasaan yata siya ng bus, no? Because
umatras.
something like that, no?
Recently lang yan.
And there are other horror stories about field trips. So I think CHED has a policy on field trips, but apparently most universities don't follow this policy. No? So maybe it's about time to check on this policy and maybe put heavier sanctions on the university officials if they don't follow this policy.
So in aid of legislation, pinakikialaman mo?
Actually, we didn't file any more resolution, or I'm thinking of not filing, but it's a budget season na, Harry.
Oh, wala.
So all of this, no, not necessarily, all of this university will come to Congress, and we will just use that opportunity to get more information.
Bagay state college yan.
State college, they will, may
They
budget
require
naman
you,
sila may budget naman. They will be represented in Congress, so we will use that opportunity to ask questions. No?
Tell us the state of Valenzuela, the one that you represent. Now, this is the province, province-wide, hindi na Bulacan ang Valenzuela.
Metro Manila na siya.
NCR na yan.
Yes,
Kasama ka na sa atin
when
dito.
President Marcos created yung MMC, no, yung Metro Manila Commission, si former First Lady Imelda Marcos being the chief of MMC, they took a lot of cities, no, to form Metro Manila.
17 to be
17, yes. Valenzuela is part of that, no, because Valenzuela was a highly industrial city during those times, and to form Metro Manila, they took
But looking at the state of Valenzuela, of which you represent, dalawa kayong district congressman.
Yes.
Ano state ng Valenzuela or the state of NCR, if we were to look at it as a whole, on the current day? How would you explain it? It's almost like a sauna,
Sige.
but very short.
Right. Well, just to correct you a bit, Harry, I was a congressman noong 2001 for one term, and then I became a 3-term mayor, and then balik ako ngayon sa Congress.
One time ka lang.
One time lang.
So this is your second stint for a first 3 years.
Yes.
This is your second 3-year
Yes.
term.
But
Bala ko 9 years ka sa
no,
legislation.
9 years ako as mayor.
So,
As mayor.
being the chief executive of Valenzuela, you have a first-hand experience of the area. Ako ang alam ko
Yes,
sa Venezuela,
yes.
you're highly manufacturing.
Yes.
Maraming
That's correct.
distribution dyan,
That's
logistic companies.
That's correct.
And your main roads, andiyan dyan lahat yung mga malalaking pabrika natin eh.
That's correct.
So, tinamaan kayo sa port. Oh my gosh.
That's correct. That's correct also.
So, what is the state of Valenzuela ngayon?
Sa ngayon kasi, Harry, no, if Makati being the center of gravity of NCR, no, ang north, no, has ang demographics ng north, no, Kamanava in particular,
Yes,
no,
Kamanava.
Caloocan, Malabon, Navotas, Valenzuela. Our CDE sector is very big, no. In fact, that accounts for close to 85% of our population.
How? Paano naging ganun when you have a lot of manufacturing
Primarily
in that area?
because of low-cost, low-tech manufacturing. Marami
okay.
kaming
Labor.
laborers.
Labor,
Marami kaming
labor,
laborers. Hindi kami BPOs, hindi kami value-added. It's more straightforward manufacturing, you know. And marami rin, Harry, are family business, and I'm sure you know.
Yes,
They're
yes,
all
yes.
family-owned. Pag family-owned ka, you're typically small to medium, and typically you have a very, very controlled overhead, no? So in that case, marami kang laborers, no? Marami kang laborers. So kaya naging ganun in demographics namin doon. It worked to our advantage to a sense that we have continuous employment in Valenzuela. although migration is very high.
It is high.
Because itong mga laborers natin, because of contractualization, every 6 months nagpapalit siya.
Yung ba, is that a good idea? Ikaw coming from that area, you know. Kasi si Drillo nag-umpisa niyan, if I'm not mistaken, long ago.
Right.
But is that a good idea? I question that a lot.
Pros and cons, Pros and cons, Harry. No? You have to give business the flexibility to expand and to contract and to respond to the economic times. No? For example, when the 1997 crisis hit, they had to downsize. No? And
This is where it came inconveniently.
right. So a lot of the factories who uses contractual employees can downsize quite a bit and respond to
Mabilis.
the economic situation. But the rules are very, very strict and the law is very, very strict. Pag the employees are part of your business manufacturing, then you can only do so much contractualization. No? But meron nga nagsa-circumvent. Kaya dyan nagkakaroon tayo ng conflict.
Professional agencies that come in and out.
Nagiging conflict yun. So, there's pros and cons. The con is, ito nakikita ko na when I talk to contractual employees is, after 6 months, they have to be retrenched. They have to be retrenched. So,
Out na naman.
we really have to weigh in the pros and cons of this type of scheme.
You're saying the 80-85% is the D&E market
Right.
for the Kamanava area
Yes.
being the manufacturing. This would bring in problems on housing. This would bring in
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
big issue item yan sa'yo. Because when you were mayor, mo, especially
Tama,
for
tama.
the executive of Valenzuela.
Valenzuela is also prone to urban problems such as housing. No? And tama ka, because of this contractualization, marami rin kaming informal settlers.
Oh, I was going to get to that.
About 30,000 families to be exact, no, in our
It's
latest
still
census.
manageable. Well,
It's manageable. It's manageable.
manageable.
Although almost 4,000 live along the river banks, no.
yeah, we
bec-
saw that on TV.
Kaya with this, but the good thing is the government, no, our national government provided funds, no, to relocate these families. So in 2 years, we'll be relocating about 4,000 families to decent homes, no. Hari, iba itong model na ginawa namin because land is very expensive in Valenzuela. So we conceptualize this, what we call public rental housing, no. So we only rent, the local government only rents home units to the families, no. Because if we put in the value of land,
Wala
it's very
na.
expensive. So we only amortize the building.
Bago yan.
Yes, public rental. Actually, this is the first, no. And actually, when I showed this to the Vice President, VP Binay, no, because he heads the housing agency, he was surprised, no, because ibang model to. But sabi ko, VP, if we don't do this, first, we cannot do single detached because mahal ang lupa.
Mahal.
So we have to go medium-rise building. But if you allocate the cost of the medium-rise building and the land, it's too expensive. So we have to come up with a different model. So we came up with this model. It's called public rental housing. Mura lang, no? The families pay close to 400 pesos a month, but rent lang sila. No?
So at least the maintenance is there.
Yes.
With rental, may maintenance yan.
Yes,
Maski
yes.
pa paano.
So far, our payment rate is 100%. No?
Wow.
May 1,000 na kasi
How
kami
many years
nilipat.
na is it in effect?
Siguro mga 4 years, no?
Wow.
4 years na.
So it is a business model.
Right. And plus, there's also one aspect, no? Before we launched this model, I conducted due diligence and study, no? I asked Gawad Kalinga. And one of the problems with tenured housing, pag binigay mo yung bahay,
Binibenta.
not only binibenta, but nagiging mas aggressive yung mga tenants doon, no? So for example, if you have problems of drugs, crime, how do you kick out the person where he owns 9 unit, no? So with rental, no, if we find out that you are into drugs or their criminality high up, we can just terminate the lease.
Congressman, we're going to have to take a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. There are other issues that need to be discussed, and let's see, we hope we will answer all these questions that's on your mind. So stay with us. We'll be right back.